ठीक ओके ओके
ओके सर ओके
एटा आज 6:30 आरंभ
हाँ 6:30 सर 6:30 थिला आ 5 मिनट रे स्टार्ट करबा
हाँ ठीक है
ओके सर Namaskar. I have the privilege to welcome all of you to the webinar series on contemporary Indian philosophy. Today we have with us Professor Pramod Kumar Das. He will be speaking on the topic Man and Human Crisis with reference to the philosophy of J. Krishnamurty. Hearty welcome to you, sir. We have with us Mr. Devasis Sadangi, who will moderate the interaction session. He is also in charge of recording this event. Welcome, Debashish. I also welcome all the coordinators of the philosophy family. I also welcome Professor Indu Khanduri Madam, whom I see in the list. A hearty welcome goes to all the participants in today's webinar. Excuse me, there is a phone call. Just a hearty welcome to all the participants in this webinar, without whose support we cannot carry on the webinar series. Before welcoming Professor Pramod Kumar Das to address his lecture, let me state a few words on him. As we all know, Professor Pramod Das is the man behind the philosophy family, and it is on his insistence that the various seminars are conducted by the philosophy family group. As I could see in Professor Das, he has a Vedantic mindset and he tries to see a sort of unity in all things, in all philosophies. He takes inspiration from late Professor Hrudananda Rai sir. Professor Das is presently serving as a lecturer in Logic and Philosophy in Nayagarh Autonomous College, Nayagarh. He is the president of Chinmaya Mission, Puri. He is also the chairman of Wisdom Intellectual Forum, Puri and Nayagarh. He organizes regular seminars and webinars in various forums. He is known for that throughout the state. We are fortunate to have him. I request Professor Das to deliver his lecture on J. Krishnamurty's conception of man and human crisis. As we all know, J. Krishnamurty was not there in the syllabus of contemporary Indian philosophy. In the recent model syllabus, J. Krishnamurty has been included as a contemporary thinker. In the course, we have Man and Nature and Human Crisis with reference to J. Krishnamurty. So in order to make us comfortable in dealing with the issue of man and nature and human crisis, Professor Das has taken an initiative to deliver this lecture. As we all know, Professor Das is much known for his clarity of thought, and many of us are new to, say, J. Krishnamurty's philosophy. We have not studied him so deeply. And I hope all of us would be learning from the lecture of Pramod Das sir today. Over to Professor Pramod Das for the lecture.
Namaskar. Namaskar to all of you. Good evening. Respected Dr. K. M. Nalanar sir, my dear Debasis, respected the participants of this session, and dear students. I am very happy that today I am going to speak on a topic which is very fun to me. Man and human crisis in the philosophy of J. Krishnamurty. This topic is a difficult topic in the sense because it is a very vast topic and it has many perspectives. So I shall be very precise in reflecting the thought of J. Krishnamurty regarding man and human crisis. Generally, by human crisis, we understand the crisis of humanity. But crisis of humanity means the crisis of values. But here, human crisis refers to a very vast domain. Here we shall discuss the human crisis of understanding, human crisis of relationship, crisis of bondage, attachment, love. All these things we shall discuss, and with reference to all these crises, what is the status of a man in the modern society? That we shall discuss. Like Gautam Buddha, Krishnamurti was silent about metaphysics. He speaks about the psychological problems of man, and which leads to different human crises, including the social living and his own living, and human living, that man lives individually and man lives in a society. Though Krishnamurti was silent about metaphysics, we shall discuss metaphysical background of Krishnamurti's philosophy, Krishnamurti's thought, because I believe silence about metaphysics is also another metaphysics. Without metaphysics, we cannot establish any thought. So we can divide our discussion into three parts: the metaphysics, psychology, and the world. Metaphysical standpoint, psychological standpoint, and the empirical standpoint. And we shall see how Krishnamurti's philosophy has been rooted in deep metaphysics, in deep psychological background, and he has focused on the practical world, the position of a man in the practical world, in the society. There is a book, Beyond Metaphysics, Revisited, written by Richard Wingerter. He has written this book and he has said that metaphysicians ask very pertinent questions, very beautiful questions, very important questions. But when they try to answer the questions, their answers are nonsensical and meaningless. I do not agree with this statement of that author. Metaphysicians ask pertinent questions, beautiful questions, and also they give very justified answers and they solve all problems. Not only that, they only ask questions. So we can discuss because we before we discuss about the depth of Krishnamurti's philosophy, if we shall focus on the metaphysical background, then it will be easier to understand. Otherwise, if I shall speak on thoughtless mind, freedom from the known, whatever has been said by J. Krishnamurti, directly, it will be difficult to understand. And Krishnamurti was an Indian philosopher, and every Indian philosopher has a metaphysical background in his philosophy, in his thought. So I have taken one verse from Kathopanishad. The verse is like that. Vayu jatha ek. Hello. Am I audible?
Hello.
Am I?
Yes, audible.
Okay. A sound came. The sound came there. Okay. The verse from Kathopanishad says that Vayu jatha eka bhuvanang pravishta rupang patirupa babhuva ekastata sarva bhutaratma rupang patirupa bahischa. I have taken this verse from Kathopanishad to understand the philosophy of J. Krishnamurti. This verse says that the same air takes different forms, just like a balloon. Balloon has different shapes, and air is contained in that balloon. The same air takes different shapes. Now the question is, the paradoxical question is, whether the air is in the balloon or the balloon is in the air. This is the question. Whether the air is contained in the balloon or the balloon is contained in the air. This is the paradoxical question that we have, and this is a metaphysical question. The air inside the balloon and the air outside the balloon is same. And the balloon, the form of a balloon, the shape of a balloon is a temporary shape which is made by the air. Now the question is whether the air is in the balloon or the balloon is in the air. Because inside the balloon there is air and outside the balloon there is air. So the balloon is in the air. This is one stand. And the other stand is, yes, it is practically seen that the air is in the balloon. From the empirical standpoint, we can say that yes, there is air in the balloon. When the seller is selling that balloon and it takes 10 rupees or 5 rupees, he sells the form. He sells the form of that air. He cannot sell the air. He sells the form of the air, that is called a balloon. If the balloon is no more, suppose the balloon is burst out, there is no form, there is no balloon, and he cannot sell it, and nobody can purchase it. So we have to understand what is the status, the original status, the real status of air that is contained in the balloon, that is the reality, and the balloon is the appearance. The balloon is only a form. We have to understand it. But practically, pragmatically, the seller is selling, and the purchaser, the child, is buying that and also enjoying. So that temporary form, that ordinary form, that changeable form, that destructible form, though it is false, it is also enjoyable. It gives enjoyment. But we have to understand that the status of air in the balloon and the status of air itself as it is, that a child cannot understand. A child is happy with the balloon, but a philosopher thinks that what exactly the balloon is. Is there really a balloon, or it is artificially made? The air, outside air, has made itself a form. Rupang rupang bahurupam babhavu. Rupang rupang pratirupang bahischa. That rupa which is outside is also same in inside. Then I shall take another verse from Isopanishad, 15th verse of Isopanishad. Hiranmanayana patrena satasya apihitang mukham tattvang pusan apabrunam satya dharmaya drushte. This verse says, and this is a prayer, this is our invocation, the highest invocation, I shall say, the best invocation of a human to the divinity. The man prays that the rupa that covers the reality. It is a prayer to the Saguna Brahman. It is a prayer to Saguna Brahman that the truth that is veiled by, that is covered by this patra, Hiranya Patra, the golden dish, or the golden form, or anything like a balloon, that you appear like a balloon, you appear like a form, just you remove your form and please be visible in your true color, in your true shape, in your reality. This is a prayer to Saguna Brahman. Yes, I worship you. I worship you. I know that you are endowed with so many gunas, qualities, but now I pray you be visible to me with your real shape, real color. All the covers be removed, that I can see the truth. I can see the formless. So this is an invocation to the God with forms, that I pray you appear before me in your formless form. That was Vishwarupa in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna was thinking that Lord Krishna was his friend, Sakha, a layman, and he was also confused that with whom he was going to fight are different forms. But Lord Krishna showed him the Vishwarupa, that is the formless. That means the formless that is behind all forms. We have to understand this metaphysical standpoint. Then we shall enter into the philosophy of Jiddu Krishnamurty. Then we have two realities. One is Avyakta, the unmanifest, the formless, and the other is with forms. Nirguna, Saguna. Unmanifest, manifest. In everything, we can find these two realities. The moment we are sleeping, that is our formless existence. We have no form. The moment we are awakening, we are acquainted with many forms of relationship. Similarly, we can apply this principle, this Advaita principle, this Vedantic principle to the empirical world. This is the metaphysics that we have to understand before we enter into the philosophy of Jiddu Krishnamurty. Whether the balloon is real, the form, balloon means the form of air is real, or the formless air is real. Because this understanding will help us living in our society, living our life. What do you understand? What do you think? If you are satisfied with the forms, then that is your way of living. If you are satisfied with, by you are convinced of the formless, then that is also your way of living. Therefore, Krishnamurti says, you are the world. As you think, so is your world. If you think that everything is formless, then your world is formless. If you think that everything is formal, everything is with any form, then you live accordingly. You are disturbed by this form, that form. You have expectations. You have the concept of success, failure, happiness, unhappiness. All these things will come automatically. This is the metaphysical background. We have to understand the formless and form, unmanifest and manifest, Avyakta and Vyakta. Now, we shall come to the psychology, the concept of mind. Topic is man and human crisis. But discussion about metaphysics, psychology, and society, these discussion is only about human beings, because animals do not live in society. Animals do not need to know about the nature of their mind, and animals are not interested in metaphysics. Not understanding metaphysics, the metaphysics means the knowledge about the, not having the knowledge about reality is also a human crisis. If you do not understand the reality, then you are roaming in falsity, and all crises start there. So far as psychology is concerned, similarly, it can be discussed that we have a mind, and that mind is a thoughtless mind, and that is the unmanifest mind, that is the complete mind, and whatever we think, they are different forms. We just apply that metaphysics on the understanding of our mind. What is the status of mind? The mind has an unmanifest state, and the mind is engaged in different forms of thinking. Now the question comes, where you are satisfied? Are you satisfied with any form of thought, any view, any ideal, any theory, or you are beyond that? This is the question, and it's a very simple question. This is not only that, only Jiddu Krishnamurty has said this, it is discussed in Jaina philosophy. It is also discussed in Jaina philosophy that all views are relative. All views are relative. Philosophy is a view. No philosophy is final. No philosophy is a conclusion. We cannot conclude anywhere that this is the final philosophy. Philosophy is simply a view. It is also discussed in Jaina philosophy. And in Advaita Vedanta also, the methodology that has been applied in Advaita Vedanta, that we cannot describe the reality. Therefore, we can describe it in the negative way. Niti, niti, not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. Jiddu Krishnamurty has applied this method, that in order to understand what is non-violence, we have to understand what is violence. What non-violence is not. What is love? If we have to understand what is love, then first we have to understand what love is not. What is education? Then we have to understand what education is not. Because if we give a particular definition or a description to any concept, that becomes a boundary of our knowledge. So negatively we can say, we can see the limitations, and we can say that this is not that, neti neti. This is the method of Advaita Vedanta, and we shall see. This is also found. This is my observation. This is my observation, that I relate the philosophy of Jiddu Krishnamurty with Advaita Vedanta. I relate philosophy of Jiddu Krishnamurty with Jain philosophy, with the philosophy of Gautam Buddha, with the philosophy of Immanuel Kant, with the philosophy of David Hume, and many others. With the Upanishadic metaphysics that I told you, unmanifest, manifest, avyakta, vyakta. If we shall discuss Jiddu Krishnamurty's philosophy independently, it will be difficult to understand. Because no philosophy, no thought is independent. It is related to many systems. The same thing has been said by other philosophers, by other systems, partly or wholly. As the metaphysics, so is the psychology, that the human mind is so well organized that it can function in three levels: conscious level, subconscious level, and unconscious level. And thinking is a human possibility. Similarly, not thinking is also a human possibility. If man feels proud that man is a rational animal and man has an ability to think, that man can apply logic, man can make deductions. Similarly, it is also a human possibility not to think, to withdraw from thinking. Silence is also a human possibility, to remain silent. So, what is the crisis? The crisis is that man is only aware of one or two possibilities. That man can think, man can make philosophy, man is a philosopher. By education, we mean that we have completed our degrees. We have so many certificates. We have occupied many positions. Krishnamurty says that is really the limitation of your education. That is not education. Therefore, very beautifully he interprets, like Advaita Vedanta, neti neti, not this, not this. If you claim that this is education, he will say, this is not education, this is not education, this is not education, this is not education. If you say this is love, he will say, this is not love, this is not love, this is not love, this is not love. This is silence. No, this is not silence. This is meditation. No, this is not a meditation. So this approach is not only a critical approach. Here, J. Krishnamurti wants to go beyond, to reach the synthesis. And he is very much aware of the problem of human understanding and thinking. That man is very much privileged, having a very well organized mind, but the same mind is the cause of all crisis. The mind that binds, the same mind also liberates. Mind binds and the mind liberates. And a man is nothing but a mind. In the layers of evolution or layers of consciousness, there comes a stage like mind, and that is man. If that mind is not properly trained, if that mind is not properly guided, then that too will lead to all types of crisis. Because crisis itself is a human possibility. There is no animal crisis, there is no plant crisis, there is no matter crisis, there is no bacteria crisis, but there is a human crisis. Because man knows how to use and misuse. Crisis is a human possibility because man knows how to use and abuse. How to use and misuse any privilege given to him. You speak of freedom, you speak of education, you speak of rationality. Whatever man is given, man either uses it or misuses it, therefore crisis comes out. Animals do not do that, plants do not do that. So the point is, when we are discussing about metaphysics, we saw that there are two states of reality. One is the unmanifest and the other is manifest. Similarly, our mind has an unmanifest state and also the manifest state. Manifest state is thinking. Whatever you think, the thinking of a great philosopher, the thought of a great philosopher is also a form. The thought of Immanuel Kant or thought of Bertrand Russell, thought of a great professor of university. Whatever you think, that belongs to a form. And we should understand, as we understand in case of metaphysics, that this is a balloon, this is not air, this is a form of air. Similarly, we have to understand this is merely a form of a thought and we should not be biased by it. This is simply a form of thought. But we do not do that. We take a thought, we take an ideal granted. And we live our whole life with this ideal or that ideal. That is not freedom according to Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti says that freedom is not that when you are engaged with a particular thought or a particular ideal or a particular view, a particular philosophy, a particular school of thought, particular religion. No, that is not freedom. Freedom means going beyond all forms. Freedom means being formless. So this is the psychological status of a man. We have to understand this, that this mind has two status, that our mind is thoughtless, the formless, the unmanifest. That means the mind which is not engaged in any thought. That is one status. The second status is our mind is engaged in thinking all the time. The third part is the world, Jagat, society, family, our practical life. Then how we live in this practical world. The man who lives in the practical world, he lives according to these two sources, the metaphysics and his psychology. If he understands the distinction between formless and forms, or manifest and manifest of the reality of human mind, then he can live in the world different to a man who does not understand this. That is the difference between a man of ignorance and a man of knowledge. Knowledge means we have to be conscious. We have to be conscious of our subconsciousness. I shall give you many examples that most of our time, every day, we live subconsciously. Subconsciously means whenever we do something, we talk something, we do that subconsciously, not consciously. Though we claim that we are conscious, actually we are subconscious. Because suppose I am giving an example, suppose we are driving. At the time of driving, we are not 100% conscious of driving. At the time of driving, we are thinking that my class time is over, I cannot reach at the college in time. And we think so many things. Because we are expert in driving, we can manage to drive, but we drive subconsciously. We are not conscious of driving. We see TV, but we think something else. We take our meal, at that time we think something else. That should not be. But we do that. Whenever we do something, we do not give complete awareness, attention to that work. We do something and we think something. Number one, this is a problem. Second thing is, whatever we think from a perspective, from our understanding, previous understanding, from our preoccupied conviction, from our thoughts, from the thought of our teachers, from the background of our education, from the background of our culture. So that thinking is not pure thinking. Second. Third, many times, actually we do not think, but we react. Suppose you will ask a question to somebody, he will not give the answer from his thinking. He may give his answer from his reactions. That you don't think, you just reacted. That is reaction. Suppose a friend is unhappy with you. A friend is annoyed of you. He's not feeling well. And at the same time, you ask something, the answer will be different. Because his answer will be prompted by his anger. So whatever we think, that is not our pure thinking, because it is prompted by our propensities, like anger, like our likeness, dislikeness, our mood, our conviction, our understanding, our education, our culture. Krishnamurti says we should be free from that. It is too difficult to be free from the known. Because whatever we have already known, we take that granted and we just follow that. And our entire talk is based upon our previous knowledge. Someone lives his whole life being a theist. Someone lives his whole life being an atheist. Someone lives his whole life being a phenomenalist, being an idealist, being a pragmatist, etc. No one is free from an ism. No man is free from a theory. A free mind should go beyond all theories, all dogmas. Even I should not own any theory, that this is my theory. This is my thesis. I have working in this area. Many PhD scholars, whole life they claim that I have worked in this area. That means they determine their boundary. That this is my boundary. I cannot roam in other areas. Be free from that. Come out of the box. Come out of the box. That is freedom. And that is the unmanifest state of mind. Don't be engaged with any manifestations and accept a manifestation as manifestation. Yes, respect others' view, like Jaina system. Respect others' view. But don't say this view is the final view, this view is the conclusion. The fundamental crisis of man is man concludes. We should not conclude anywhere that this is the final conclusion, final submission. Another interesting thing is that whenever we are perceiving something, that perception should be perceiver-less. Perceiver-less means there should not be any imposition of the perceiver who is perceiving something. Who is perceiving? And that man is perceiving. So that man is perceiving something from his standpoints, from his, as Immanuel Kant said, that whatever man thinks with his forms of understanding. That is not freedom. Knowledge is not limited to the forms of understanding. That is the very minimum knowledge of human mind. That knowledge is knowledge from forms of understanding. Knowledge can be formless. Thought can be formless. That does not mean, so this is a level of consciousness, this is a layer of consciousness that one has to transform, transcend. That does not mean that one should not think at all. That does not mean that one should stop thinking. Your thinking should not be biased by your previous convictions, by any culture, by any religion, no, by any view. That may be Advaita, that may be Dvaita, that may be any ism, any ideal. That should not be. Because no ideal is final. No view is final. There is no conclusion. He is a materialist. When we say he is a materialist, what does it mean? That means that person has concluded, has been convinced by the conclusion that matter is the only reality. This conclusion is a crisis. Don't be satisfied with any conclusion, because your whole life will be in bondage of that conclusion. Don't be a victim of your conclusion, because human understanding is an unending process. Go on, go on, go on, go on. You just think, you don't accept. You don't be a party to it. Because mind, the job of mind is to think, not to be indulged any particular thought. Don't take that balloon as the reality, because balloon will disappear after some time, and the air in the balloon will be merged with the outer air. Understand that the outer air and the inner air are one and same. The most convinced thought of today shall be challenged tomorrow, even by me, because I shall belong to another layer of consciousness. I shall become a different man. I shall become more matured. So I shall cancel, I shall reject my previous knowledge. This possibility is there. This possibility is there. So be free from ideals, isms, religions. So Krishnamurti says that separation is violence, division is violence. If you claim that you are a Hindu, if you claim that you are a Christian, if you claim that you are a Muslim, there comes the violence. We speak of non-violence, tolerance, forgiveness, so many things. But if you claim that you belong to a particular religion, that means somehow or other your existence, your thought is violent because you believe in division. You divided yourself from the whole. So by consciousness means, by unmanifest thought means, by thoughtless mind means the awareness of the total being, the whole being. If I claim that I am a Hindu, I cannot claim that I am the whole being, the total being. If I claim that I am a Hindu, then I cannot claim that I am Sachidananda. If I claim that I am a Hindu, I cannot claim that I am a man. That is the crisis. I say, I claim that I am a man, and at the same time, I claim that I am a not man. Not man means I am divided. I am Hindu means I am different from other religions, other castes. I am a materialist means I am different from idealists. I am a theist means I am different from atheists. That should not be. That is not freedom. Education, getting education and being educated are two different things. In Puri Sea Beach, I shall not name, in our guest house, some professor had visited many years ago. He had come to Puri and he told me to accompany him to the sea beach, that we went to sea beach together. We sat there sometimes, and he had collected some coins, and he had a belief that to throw the coins to the sea, and that is holy, that is very, that is religious. And he threw the coins, being a professor. And the very illiterate boys of the fishermen, they were ready to collect the coins by magnet. And they collected the coins. Professors threw, and the illiterate boys collected the coins. Who is educated? Who is educated here? So our action, it is not that having a position or having certificates, having degrees, we cannot claim that we are educated. Our behavior, our belief system, our knowledge, our practical living. J. Krishnamurti believes in the practical living, practical truth, not with abstract truths. Throwing coins is also an offense because we cannot destroy our money. We cannot destroy our currency. We cannot destroy. That is the property, national property. We cannot destroy that. And being a professor, we should not do that. We should be educated enough. But the illiterate boys of fishermen, they collected the coins by using the magnet. They are educated. Education means to be educated in the practical sense. To be educated. Education is within. It is covered by our ignorance. No certificate, no teachers, no university, no books, no writings, no articles can uncover it, can unveil it. It can be removed. The ignorance can be removed only by self-knowledge, only by consciousness. That consciousness which is free from all these things. If we are subconscious, yes, we have to admit that, yes, I am subconscious. So what is real consciousness? And the consciousness of subconsciousness. If I am subconscious, I should be conscious that, yes, I am subconscious. If I am making any division practically we have to live in the society, then I should have that understanding, that consciousness, yes, I am doing that. I am doing that. If you are in Advaita Vedanta, if you are living in the practical world, the world of Maya, then at least you should know that you are living in Maya. You are handling it, you are managing it. If you are really indulged, you are really involved in the separation, in the division, in the forms, then you are not free. That is not the real sense of freedom. So, our mind should be free from all types of conditions, all types of conditionings. Similarly, we can describe what is love. Love is not that I love you because you love me. I give you because I gave you because you gave me. Love should not be through any expectation, any conditions. If love is for something, or by something, or from something, then that is not love. This love is well reflected, well manifested in case of a mother and a child, where there is no expectation. The paradox of human love is that the more you love someone, the person whom you love will you exploit more. Will you expect many things from you? That is the paradox of human love. And the paradox of divine love is just the opposite. You love her or not, Isa or God loves you. This is the difference. If a child loves or not, a mother loves. So that Krishnamurti defines the unmanifest mind with love. That as the unmanifest mind, so is the status of love. So is the status of silence. What is silence? Silence does not mean not to speak. Silence does not mean that not to use any language. Rather, suppose your wife is silent, then that is dangerous. That is problem. That she should speak. That the silent wife is not really silent. The silent husband is not really silent. Silent means there is a cause of silence. If there is a cause of silence, there is no silence. Inwardly, he or she is disturbed. Similarly, meditation does not mean to meditate upon something. If you meditate upon something, that something becomes the limit of your thoughts, limit of your meditation, because you concentrate on something. Therefore, Krishnamurti says, have a meditative mind. Always remain in a meditative state. In a meditative state means you have a neutral mind. Thoughtless mind means a neutral mind, a meditative mind, which is ready to attain everything. Thesis, antithesis, happiness, opposites, polarities, without being affected by thesis or antithesis, even by synthesis. Because the function of mind is only to think, it's only to be aware, not to be bound by a particular thought. But in our practical life, what we do, we really do not think, we react. Number one. Secondly, we do not think, we overthink. Suppose you think something, just forget. No, we overthink, overthink, and we go on depression. All these psychosomatic diseases are due to this problem, that we overthink. We try to escape. And the highest threat of a human being, which can also be treated as the crisis, that is the fear of loneliness. Fear of loneliness. Fear of being unmanifest. We feel secure with that balloon. Though that balloon is subject to destruction, it is temporary, it is changeable, but we love that. We feel secure in the false boundary of the balloon. And we fear the formless. We fear the loneliness. What will happen after my retirement? What will happen if everybody will die? What will happen if my son will die, if my father will die? I shall be alone. So that means man is habituated to live with different forms. Man is fond of bondage. Man speaks of liberation, but it is not an easy task. The moment man will love to live alone with the state of loneliness, with the state of unmanifest, that is freedom. That is Jivanamukta. Therefore, everything has two properties. One is the physical property, the other is the chemical property. Physical property is its own property, that is the unmanifest. Chemical property means how it behaves, how it reacts with others. What is my mind when I am alone? What is my mind when I am with others? What is my mind when I am alone? This is one status of my existence. But what is my mind when I am in a group? When I am in family, when I am with students, when I am in a society, how I am behaving? Hydrogen is not bad, oxygen is not bad, sulfur is not bad. But when we shall combine, their chemical property will be changed. So the physical property and chemical properties should be harmonized. The same mind, which is stable, which is peaceful, in loneliness, will operate similarly with that stamina, with that stability, when with groups, when with others. My physical property will not be disturbed with the chemistry of others. That is the psychological discipline. Now we shall come to the conclusion that there are two things, man and the world. Similarly, there are animals, world, plants, world. Now you compare what is the relation between animals and the world, plants and the world, and human beings and the world. Things take place physically, practically in the empirical world. There is cyclone, there is earthquake, there are many types of events that take place outside us, on which we don't have any control. And these events are same for animals, plants, and human beings. But they do not react. They accept the physical world very naturally, having their physical property intact. But man reacts. Physical world will exist. Physical world, there will be change in the physical world. But man becomes attached to the physical world, therefore man suffers. That is because of man's imaginative power. By imagination, man becomes attached with the empirical world. Man does not learn to live alone, aloof from the empirical world. Something happened in the empirical world. I shall be a simple observer. I shall observe that this happened in the empirical world. I have nothing to be attached with the empirical world, neither with happiness nor with unhappiness. Suppose I have a very beautiful building. Yes, I have a very beautiful building. If I am 100% attached to it, and at another moment, that building was destroyed because of earthquake, but I am alive, but I am mentally disturbed. I am because I cannot break earthquake. I cannot break. This is a natural phenomena. But because of my attachment to my building, to my property, to my life, to my existence, when something happened seriously or something happened negative, then I become helpless, frustrated. That is not freedom. Jiddu Krishnamurty has given importance upon existentialism, but he differs from the Western existentialists, those who claim that man is condemned to be free. Here we believe, in Indian philosophy, we believe that man is blessed with freedom. Man is blessed to be free. It is a human blessing that man is free. But in Western existentialists claim that man is condemned to be free. No, man is not at all condemned to be free. Freedom is human blessing. Be such a mind that the beautiful building you have built by your hard-earning money, that can be destroyed at any moment by any natural calamity. Have this understanding that this is destructible, that is subject to destruction. Similarly, life and death. Suppose you are the whole family is going by car and they made an accident. Everybody died and one person survived. And that person who was with everybody at one moment, after 5 minutes, he is with nobody and he is disturbed. He is disturbed because it is a human possibility. He is disturbed because he is a man. Whatever is not within our control, the empirical world is not within our control, man tries to control it. Man tries to control, and man tries to be attached with it. And that attachment leads to all types of crisis. Human existence is the crisis. Because if I do not exist, if I become abnormal, if I am not stable, for nothing, for my unnecessary imagination, that I had imagined that this balloon is real. This was my imagination. And the balloon was burst, then I became frustrated. If I am convinced with that the outer air and the inner air are one and the same, the life means there must be death. The beautiful building means that must be destroyed at one time. If I know the totality means the thesis and antithesis both, then that is the status of a free mind. Mind should be like that. Mind is not only confined to the forms of understanding. Understanding is a dogma. Because we understand from a particular standpoint. Our understanding is not dogma-free. So that is the state of samadhi. That is the state of samadhi. Samadhi means samyak adhyati iti. Samyak adhyati iti. Adhyati means to exist, to sit, to exist. Samyak means in the right way, perfect way. That your sense organs, your mind should sit with discipline, that they are not disturbed. That is samadhi. Then no life, no death, no success, no failure, no crowd, loneliness, nothing can disturb me. Because the agents of disturbance, they are my sense organs and the mind, they are in samadhi. Samadhi means samyak adhyati iti. They exist, they sit with harmony. They sit without disturbance. They have no interpretation. They have no conclusion. They are only simply observer of the phenomena. Similarly, as we are going to see cinema in the cinema hall, there we simply see the cinema. We simply observe the cinema. We do not go and enter into the screen. No. Simply we occupy our seat and see the cinema. Similarly, the empirical world is the cinema, the film. We are the observer. But we are not the real observer. We are disturbed. In course of observing, we are getting indulged. We are getting attached with that what we see. This is not the case of animals. This is not the case of plants. When one plant grows out of the seed, it does not follow other plants. But a human being compares the neighbor, how he lives, how he thinks of me, what he has, what I have not. Plants do not, but plants also live, plants also grow, but they grow of their own. But human beings grow depending upon others unnecessarily, interpreting their imaginations unnecessarily, overthinking their thoughts unnecessarily. So give rest to your mind. Give rest to your mind. Give rest. Make your mind meditative. I have seen many people, those who belong to many religions, those who perform satsangas daily in the evening, they become annoyed for simple things. This is a contradiction to their character. If you belong to a particular religion, how can you be reactive? That is the paradox. A religious mind cannot be reactive, cannot overreact. A religious mind is a silent mind. If you are religious, then you should discipline your mind to be silent, to be a silent observer. A silent observer really observes everything. A partial observer, a biased observer, a rational observer, a conscious observer observes the part. That is the point. So the empirical world will exist, society will exist, government will exist, family, our neighbors, everything shall exist. We shall exist, we shall enjoy everything with a sense of detachment. Attachment is not bad, but attachment with a sense of detachment. Tena tektena bhanjita. You enjoy, but you remember the status of that balloon. With the sense of detachment, you become attached. Then that is not attachment. That attachment will liberate you, because you are attached with the sense of detachment. You are working something, but you do not have any expectation. This is very famous in Bhagavad Gita. If your action is rooted with any selfish expectation, then there will be frustration if you will not get the expected result. Similarly, love, similarly, bhakti, similarly, education, similarly, silence, everything. There should be complete silence without any conditioning, complete freedom without any conditioning. That is the real solution to human living. That is human crisis, when man fails to understand the special gift of God, that is the power of mind, the possibility of mind. What can I do? We people think, if I am double MA or triple MA, or if I have done PhD, or if 50 or 100 scholars have done PhD under me, and if I have occupied so many positions at a time, then I am a complete man. No. If a small boy of a fisherman is happy, he may be formless, he may be more educated than you. So enjoy that freedom, enjoy that unmanifest state. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, for your nice lecture. J. Krishnamurti, as we all know, that he is not taught in Odisha, because J. Krishnamurti is not included in the state syllabus. But recently, J. Krishnamurti, the philosophy of J. Krishnamurti has been included in contemporary Indian philosophy. And Professor Das has really made a great effort in understanding him and also putting the ideas of J. Krishnamurti in a very soft manner, in a very clear manner, in a very precise manner. So, basing on what he has said, let me put things in a few points. Professor Das has started his lecture by saying that J. Krishnamurti is silent about metaphysics, but at the same time he says silence about metaphysics is another metaphysics. So he says there cannot be a thinking without a metaphysical background. So with that idea in mind, he has tried to build up a metaphysical background that can constitute the basis of the philosophy of J. Krishnamurti. Now then he proceeded to say that the psychological problems that we have, these psychological problems lead to various lead to the social crisis. And then he tried to divide the entire discussion into three standpoints: the metaphysical, psychological, and the empirical standpoints. And a very nice example that he has given to understand the metaphysical background of Krishnamurti's philosophy. The example of the air in the balloon, and he puts us in a situation to understand the air inside the balloon and the air outside the balloon. He tried to show where we are. Are we convinced with the air in the balloon and we are limited by it, or whether we understand the air outside and the air inside the balloon, they are formless and they are one and the same. Now, he raised a question, is the air in the balloon or the balloon is in the air? So he has taken very nicely, he has framed out whether the air is in the balloon or the balloon is in the air. So he says, air in the balloon, when you take air is in the balloon, then we are in the empirical world and a limited world. And we are in a world where there is a form. And in that sense, we are limited. But in understanding that, that the balloon is in the air and that balloon is for a limited time and it has to exhaust, then we see that the air inside the balloon and the air outside the balloon is the same air that is formless. So he says that we need to see in the philosophy of Krishnamurti, we need to see of the formless behind all forms. We need to see the unmanifested behind everything that is manifested to us. So very nicely has framed out. And then he tried to say that from the psychological point of view, he tried to show us that, that man has a number of possibilities, innumerable possibilities that man has. But it is because that man restricts himself to few possibilities and overlooks or ignores somehow the other possibilities, that there is a lot of crisis in the world. And he and at one point he says that it is man who knows how to use, how to misuse, and how to abuse. So it's man who is responsible for the crisis, because man not only uses, he also abuses and also misuses. So that's how there is a crisis, there is a problem. Now again he says that man, from the philosophy of J. Krishnamurti, Professor Das points out that man is unconditionally free. But the problem is man gets conditioned with the forms. Man is conditioned by what he has, but what he sees, but by what he knows. And very nicely he says that it is very difficult on the part of man to be free from what that is known and what that is seen. So there lies the problem, because once we are restricting to some knowledge or to some form, we are restricting ourselves to a particular thing, and the reality, but the reality being the formless, the unmanifest, we fail to see that. So once we realize that the reality is formless, it is unmanifest, okay, it is we reach a stage where we are unconditionally free. This is what Krishnamurti tries to say. Tries to say that man is basically unconditionally free, but the problem is he restricts himself to the balloon and the air in the balloon. But once he sees that the balloon is just a temporary feature of the world, he comes out of all forms, all manifested, and sees at the background that the reality is unmanifest and the reality is formless. Towards the end of the lecture, he tried to say that man need to exist. Well, man exists, he has to exist, but and being having an existence, he has an attachment. There is nothing, there is no problem in being attached, but being attached, man needs to get attached with things with a sense of detachment. So there is attachment, but the attachment needs to be with a sense of detachment. And then he points out that a pure mind, a religious mind, is never divisive, it is never separative. It is rather it's a unifying mind. And it's when we have when we try, or when we acquire such a mind, then we become say we see the formless as the source and strength of all that we see. The forms that we see, the forms are nothing but the separations, the divisions, and these divisions are nothing but the products of ignorance. So at the end, he says it is the formless that is real, it is the unmanifest that is real, and that we need to realize. So thank you, Professor Das, for your very nice lecture. And I finally said the crisis, the human crisis, is to the realization, lack of realization that the forms, that behind the form there is something that is formless. Okay, so the failure of to realize this is the cause of human crisis. And I hope a number of questions will be there in the chat box.
Sir, hello. Sir, you spoke better than me.
No, thank you for your compliment. Thank you for your compliment.
You synopsized better than me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your compliment. Now I see certain questions in the chat box. Now I request Mr. Devasis Sarangi to carry on the interaction session. Over to Devasis Sarangi.
Sir, so good evening to all. Swarnaprabha Biswal, she wants to know, should we claim that we are Indians or not? What is your opinion about Gandhiji's non-violence in relation to Krishnamurti? Hello? Hello, is it audible?
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Sir. Yes, sir. Is it audible?
Debasis, I am grateful to you for your kind help.
Thank you.
In organizing all these programs. You are doing a lot. We all are grateful to you. And to this question asked by Swarnaprabha Madam, I shall say she is asking that should we claim that we are Indians or not? Any claim means you are accepting a form. Yes, as I said that we have to exist in this world, so we have to abide by the rules and regulations of a state, of the government. So because we live in India, we can say that we are Indian, but from the standpoint of the formless, as from the standpoint of a man, we should not divide ourselves claiming that we are Indians. That is your choice. whether you are satisfied being a man or being an Indian. Wherever, suppose you will stay in America, so you will be an American, Australian, Indian. That does not matter. But don't divide your whole being as Indian or American or to any geographical area. You are a man, and if you go beyond that, you are Sachidananda. You are Brahma Swarupa, Atma Swarupa. You are pure consciousness. Okay, so your claiming is a political question. That is a question of your existence. Yes, you, because you belong to a particular geographical area, that is your identity. You have to live. But by your thought, you should not be convinced that you are an Indian, because any division leads to violation. That is violation. If you claim that I am an Indian, naturally you will have hatred for a Pakistani, for the man of any other country. That is not your that is not our nationalism. Okay, we are man. We all Vasundhaiva Kutukam. We are claiming Vasundhaiva Kutukam. What is about Indian? Then second question is, what is your opinion about Gandhi's non-violence in relation to Krishnamurti? Non-violence is non-violence. It is not Gandhi's non-violence or Krishnamurti's non-violence. Krishnamurti says that in order to understand non-violence, we have to understand what violence is. First of all, we have to understand our own status. If we are claiming that I am a Hindu or I am an Indian, then we are in violence. We should. That is the status of. That is the stature of non-violence. That is the point of Krishnamurti. And Mahatma Gandhi also gives a very well conception about non-violence, and everybody knows it. But what Krishnamurti says, that is point of discussion. Everybody knows about Gandhi's non-violence. Krishnamurti says, even if you divide yourself as an Indian or an American or a Hindu or a Muslim, that is also violence. That is the point. Go to that level of consciousness, that you are that unmanifest. You are not manifest. There, from your manifest state, there will come love, non-violence, forgiveness, everything. If you claim that you are an Indian, you live in such a country where Mahatma Gandhi was living, and this is the principle of Mahatma Gandhi's non-violence, that is violence, because you divide yourself. Don't divide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And now a question is from Raja Misra. He wants to know, does Krishnamurti, by admitting reality as unmanifested, leads toward an abstract concept rather than rational?
No, not at all. Krishnamurti rejects abstract truths. Krishnamurti advocates living truths. So you have to live in the world. You will not. You will not reject this world. I told that you have to exist in this world, but with the ideation that you are not a party to this world. You are not a party to this world. Okay, you live with many relations, but you should not be indulged with any relation. You should have that state of loneliness within you. Then only you will be able to live with others impartially, with a sense of detachment. That is the point. That person can pragmatically live in the world successfully, who has a sense of detachment, who has the wisdom of that unmanifest, that I am nothing, I am nothing, I am empty, I am that air which can take the form of a balloon, which can take the form of the water boat. Water boat. In the sea, there are water boats. We use that. And pragmatically we use that. 10 people sit on the water boat and travel in the sea. There is air in the water boat. So I am that air who can be in a balloon, who can be in a water boat, who can be in the my breathing system. In everything I can live comfortably. If I am attached to with a particular nation, particular religion, particular relation, then that will be that will be the problem. This is the point. So we should have the knowledge of unmanifest in order to live successfully with the manifests.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. So there are no such question as I am seeing. If anyone wants to ask something, then they can unmute themselves and ask their question. Hello. Question or queries, you can ask yourself by unmuting yourself. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your nice response. Now to Rao, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Debasis, for nicely carrying on the interaction session. So I thank the speaker, Professor Pramod Kumar, and moderator Debasis Sedangi, and all the participants in this webinar. So it was a nice webinar. We learned a lot from Professor Das. So it's a very nice lecture, and I hope Philosophy Family will be conducting. And one thing, let me remind you, tomorrow we have a webinar on the philosophy of Rabindranath Tagore. So please attend the webinar tomorrow. It will be starting at 6 p.m. Okay, so please attend. Thank you all for your attendance till the last. And I see many faces, especially I should special thank to Dr. Anirudh Pandha, because he is the man who starts and he stays throughout the webinar. And one more, Dr. Ratnakar Gajendra sir. And sometimes Basant Kumar Das sir also. I should be very much thankful to them, because they're always there. They never leave the meeting. They are from the beginning till the end. They support us. They support the entire the webinars. So that's how they keep connected with us. They sometimes send the blessings to the members of the philosophy family. So it's how the philosophy family grows. So with all love and all support from all members, I hope philosophy family will be conducting more webinars with much success. Thank you all for your participation and your support. Thank you, and I hope tomorrow we'll meet at 6 p.m. Thank you everybody.